We acknowledge that we are on the ancestral lands of the Osage People who were removed unjustly, and because of that removal, we now are the beneficiaries of this land. We acknowledge them as we live, work, and study here in Missouri. Greenways are outdoor spaces that connect people and places. Greenways in the St. Louis region are located on land stewarded by Native American people throughout generations. The sacred relationship between Native American people and ancestral land where the Greenways are located continues today.
Some of the unique features at this location along the Mississippi Greenway in Cliff Cave County Park are the Mississippi River, the cave, and the native woodlands.
Native people who are living in Missouri have been here since time immemorial. Starting before pre-colonization, the Cahokian period, which is around here in St. Louis and also in Illinois, had the largest city north of Mexico. And this land also was inhabited by several other nations who have migrated and lived across the land. In the 19th century, which is known as the Corps of Discovery, the Louisiana Purchase happened here. This led to the removal of Native people living here and across the land. One of those tribal nations are the Osage people who currently live in Oklahoma.
You know, the Osage people, our name is called Neokonska, which means children of the middle waters. That's one of the names that we use for ourselves. The term Osage, which has kind of an interesting history because when the French encountered the Osage, we also call ourselves Wajaji. And they wrote it down. And when they wrote it down, the English came along and looked at that spelling and they started pronouncing it Osage. But we really are called the Wajaji people. The Osage have been in Missouri for centuries. There's even, a belief that we were connected to the mound builder culture. And so we've been in that region long enough that we really call it home. So, our history really is as I said, very much a part and connected to the Missouri area.
We stand here in front of the Cliff Cave. This cave is sacred to the Osage people. It's close enough to the river to fish. It also is far enough from the river so it won't get flooded here at all.
Rivers were very much a part of our lifeways and our survival. I mean, essentially water is necessary for survival. Those areas where we lived, we hunted, and fished. I mean, hunted and farmed for survival. We collected plants like persimmons and pawpaws, and also yonkipan, which is water lily root, and which they made a soup out of. Those were, sort of important food sources, for us.
Native American people often have a deep understanding of the land and the plants that grow there. Part of the indigenous ways of knowing is knowing what parts of plants to prepare, when to prepare them, how to prepare them. These plants have relationships with humans, but in addition to being used as gifts for food and medicine, they also have relationships with the native pollinators and other wildlife around them. For about 800 years, Native American people have been stewarding these lands in the St. Louis region. Knowing how to use these plants comes from an ongoing relationship that has been developed over many, many years throughout many, many generations. The native woodlands that are now home to the Mississippi Greenway in Cliff Cave County Park once provided all of the resources needed to survive and thrive to the Native American people who lived in this area. Here are a few examples of the native plants you can see along the greenways and some of the benefits they provide. This is the hackberry tree. We can tell because of the warty knobs and ridges on its bark, and its sweet fruit is a food for squirrels, birds, and raccoons. This tree here with the heart-shaped leaves is a redbud. So as an understory tree, it provides shelter for mammals, birds, and in the springtime it has bright pink flowers that are an important nectar source for bees. It also has seeds that birds eat. This is a persimmon tree, and we can tell by the blocky bark. So the fruits, buds, leaves are all eaten by deer, opossum, raccoon, squirrel, turkey, fox, coyote. And the persimmon tree will actually grow in disturbed landscapes, so it plays a very important role in helping to reestablish mature ecosystems. The sassafras tree actually has 3 different leaf shapes on the same tree. So there's the round leaf shape, the leaf shape that looks like a mitten, and the leaf shape that has 3 different lobes. On this tree, the birds like to eat the fruit, and the leaves and twigs are eaten by rabbits, woodchucks, deer, and bears. And the leaves are also a primary food source for many moths and butterflies. So pawpaw trees grow in colonies. If you see one, look around, you'll probably see others nearby. Squirrels, possum, raccoon all like to eat the fruit. And the zebra swallowtail butterfly cannot live on any other plant. The caterpillars develop on the leaves, and so that's where the females lay the eggs.
We were removed from Missouri in 1810. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, you know, is that that our lifeways have really changed with that forced removal. A lot of the plants that were indigenous to the areas, you know, changed.
The dense tangle of woodlands that you see in many places today are very different than they were pre-contact. So today, invasive species are often densely packed in the understory. And so Great Rivers Greenway and partners are clearing the invasive species out of the understory so that the canopy can be opened up and the native plants get the sunlight and rain that they need.
Currently here in Missouri, we have about 80,000 Native American people living. And we also have certain organizations like the Alliance for Native Programs and Initiatives and the Catherine M. Booter Center as resources for people living in Missouri who want to learn about Native history.